Okay, so we are back. Oh, excuse me. And someone's joined since, since it's crashed, but it's been a couple hours. I've had a shower and had lunch, and since then, someone's joined and painted this really cool thing. Very horror-ish. Makes me think of kind of like horror indie games. Right then, but we're going to continue this one mostly from where we left off. I kind of couldn't help myself and did a little bit of painting on it between while I was cooking dinner and such. So we're just going to keep adding the believability to this, just like we was when we left off. I think that wants a bit of a split down the middle, that shape on the front does. Make it look a bit more what's the name for it? How animals are split into two. Bilateral, that's it, bilateral symmetry, I think. Really tried to make this this eye look really like it's, you can see how far out that one is. So we need to make this one feel like it's really coming towards the camera. I need to do some shading on the red webbing. It's in between. And it needs a lot of shape design too, this red webbing does. Love this really rich kind of honey values. All these little lenses. Give me 1 second. Probably should have put this guy in the thumbnail while I was off stream, actually. I was offline. Because yeah, this guy's definitely going in the thumbnail. So the same rule here is things get to the edge of these rounded organic shapes, they're just going to turn into like these really thin squished lines. Also, when things just go further in the distance on flatter shapes, it'll do the same. Simple rules, lots of simple rules stacked on top of each other. It'll give that illusion of depth. Like I said, I need this eye to feel like it's got, like this part of it is much further away from the camera than this part. And that's the only way to kind of do it, is with that texture like that. Because we're looking straight on it, it's kind of almost hard to tell otherwise. I don't know whether to split this up and make all of them just a little bit smaller on average. See how it looks. Just feel like those ones are a bit too large, although I do want them to get larger towards the middle, but they might have been pushing it. Wow, that's starting to look really quite a trippy texture, isn't it? I don't know, I kind of want some like some some finer feathers underneath the eye. Let's just keep working on it while it's kind of blurry as it is. But yeah, this is definitely going to be something like feathers, I think. Still haven't added the extra light source that we wanted to add. That's the fun thing, especially with speed painting and art, is adding extra light sources is super satisfying. I'm gonna pretty much do the same as the alien. I think this is almost exactly the same lighting as the alien. It is just very typical portrait style lighting. I need to remember to kind of follow the texture here. And it's going to kind of catch some extra, you know what I mean? You see how there's maybe some more layers. Even something around here might, if it pops out particularly far. It's got to slowly lessen and fade out. So I like doing reflections and glossy materials and stuff, but I do like doing organic and rounded materials too, especially with meta surfaces on. So you see we've added a completely new light source here that didn't exist before. I'm going to have it get more powerful here, just towards the back of the head. Of course, it's going to be on the robe too. I overdid it there a little bit, I think. Just gonna knock that back a little. I want to keep it, but I want to diminish it a little bit. Something more like that, maybe. I just thought as well, we haven't yet played with the filters on this one. I think I'm going to let the value range get just a little bit wider for myself and then have a go at it. I wanted, just before it crashed as well, to make this a little bit darker down here. I want to make this beak a different colour as well. I want to make it a lot more yellow. Play with the exposure a little bit. I might try and make it yellow with using digital tools. Should we give that a go? I bet we can just change the hue. I don't know if we can get the colour curves in this. I highly doubt it. That would probably be the perfect tool. Excuse me. I got hue, saturation, lightness here, so we're looking for a nice yellow. Or just, well, I guess it can be any colour. Let's just see what we like. That's green, which is pretty cool. Not seeing the yellow here. I think I'm gonna have to play with the saturation to see the yellow more. Yeah, to match the eyes. That's quite cool. I like that. somewhere around there, I think. Yeah, so we've gone from that to that. Maybe let it just be a tiny bit darker, I think, actually. Yeah. It's beauty digital tools. The alternative is just to paint over it with the new values. You see, using that filter does... I think I've been attributing it to it just compressing your stuff over time, but actually I think it's this filter that adds kind of a noise effect. And it does do a similar-ish one in Krita, and I like them both. I've said before, I think that this I like this kind of noise effect because it makes it look a bit more like a photograph. You see where I haven't used that filter, there's none of that noise, it's all quite smooth. I do prefer it. I don't know if you can get that somehow, some other way. I don't know what the other methods are to get that. Make sure this darkness creeps all the way up to where it should be. We're adding to the contrast here. So we just go in and push in the darks, pushing them deeper. I need to bend this little purple area above the beak a bit more round the eyes. You can do that by just changing the striations that are here to kind of flex more around. A lot of striation-y textures here. Wow, that is turning out really nice. Super terrifying though. Let's get some almost pretty much blacks in here, right at the bottom where it's quite dark. Remember to just keep that abstract pattern as well. We'll just slowly turn it into whatever it ends up looking like. If it looks nice at this stage, then that's all that really matters, because you'll figure out what looks best at the later stages as you go through. The best thing you can do is just set yourself up in this stage with a texture that does look nice at this level of detail. Like, of course we're going to push it much further into detail, but you're just trying to keep that foundational level for the next stage. This really is a treat to paint, texture and material wise. It's the kind of thing I wanted to do. I don't know why I started with this It's like the slug from Flushed Away. I don't know what that was, but it was just me. I was just warming up, just shaking the rust off for the morning. I do kind of like him. It wasn't really what I was going for though. I was trying the more wacky stuff this morning. You gotta have a warm up piece, haven't you? Shake the rust off. I always struggle with robes like this because I don't know how to connect the sleeves. There's just so much there's so much that's missing from my visual library. I can't wait to work on that a little bit more. New streams and stuff. I'll have to do some of these the upscales. Did a couple of them the other day, but from imagination. I've got to figure out how to do these 15-minute preliminaries from I'd like to do it as one of those multi-boards and just have some, like a couple of different pieces of reference just floating around, and then a bunch of empty canvases for people to join. So I'll figure out how to do it and where to get some images that we can use. About a million different ideas you could do for these art jams. I'm wondering how large you can do them as well. I don't know. I feel like once you get a couple people joining, might be wanting larger canvases, but I think this one's almost the max that you can get. I always do this with my highlights. Just make that little donut shape. Ring light, isn't it? There's a reason ring lights are in style. They do look cool. So pretty much on almost all of my reflective materials that I paint, somewhere, somehow, there is this ring shape. Just makes things look more futuristic. Somehow. We haven't even added any like reflective areas on this red stuff yet. Once we get to the point where we've done that much detail that we literally detail in this see this like red webbing in between the eyes even. That's when you get insane believability. I do like to do just 80% paintings on these art jams, and then I'm trying to think of another kind of art jam format to finish paintings and to finish work. I might just do it on my own. I've got a few of my own like personal places where I've been exporting some of the stuff and just working on it anyway. But I'd like to be able to do some kind of art jam format where everyone can kind of finish their work. I have no idea how to organise that though. Would just be the hub of communal arting. It's a new thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I feel like this multiplayer painting, I think it's slept on, honestly. I think it could do a lot for the art world, especially in times like this where we kind of compete with AI and things like that. I think stuff like this can make, you know, some people lose their reason to paint, especially because of stuff like AI. I don't really, because there's always been artists that are amazing anyway, right? Humans can paint stuff that's just as good as AI. It's just that AI can do it a lot faster and pump them out. But I don't think anyone was painting stuff for the purpose of pumping things out, you know? I kind of do a little bit now, because I try to get myself to kind of produce more concept ideas and stuff like that. But I think focusing on being able to paint with people and, you know, the sense of community that comes with that, literally painting on the same canvas and stuff like that, or in life, you know, like actually, you know, meeting up with people and doing paintings and stuff like that. That area really interests me too. I think or well, I wouldn't say that's the anything, but it's a very effective source of fun and motivation in painting, is painting with people. And I think it's also one that's very much missed out. I think art is done as kind of a solo thing, you know. This is an expression of you, so it does kind of make sense. But I think that there's not enough communal experiences in the art world, for sure. Can't wait till they can make something like this where you can paint on the same layer. You could really genuinely all paint the same painting then as well. How powerful that could be. I might be going too far into detail in this eye right here. I might be getting tunnel visioned, I feel like, so I'm going to try and zoom out. Sometimes you just make one thing like way too high detail when you haven't even like finished blocking in some areas. And this is one of those times for me, not going to lie. We're going to carry on doing this gown. I think I'm probably just procrastinating on figuring out what these wrinkles are going to look like. Most difficult thing ever, and I've got to do it round these awkwardly shaped fingers without erasing them. Could be a good strategic decision to just paint over the hand and then paint the hand back in after, but no, I'm stubborn. I'm going to try and block it out as it is. Maybe one of the few times when I would actually say it might be a good idea to use layers. Very few occasions where I use them. I just don't think they're necessary most of the time. Yeah, I have this logic in my head that glazing can reach certain values that it can't. When you glaze, you definitely do lose saturation. I just don't feel like my brain understands that mechanic. I keep going to try and substitute glazing for actually mixing the colours. This is coming along nicely. I was really kind of lost at one point when I was painting this onto what I was going to do for the body of this thing. I was thinking more like it was going to be more like a worm or like a what's it called, praying mantis type thing originally, and then I just kind of came up with the idea for the cloak. And that is very convenient because it's just I can just get away with doing a big blob, basically, big red blob, instead of actually having to design a complicated alien torso. I'm just thinking about the lighting on this sleeve. It's a bit difficult, this geometry is, to be fair. You see, I'm just trying to do these striations again. This whole painting has been striated, but just kind of linking the arms together. Similar kind of ethos here, and I didn't get these right straight away. Some of these, you know, sometimes I was doing them the wrong way, and then I thought, you know, oh, that doesn't look right, and painted over them and such. Like these wrinkles I added in second, realised I'd missed them out. So that's the key, I think, to painting what's it called, drapery, to painting drapery with from imagination, especially when speed painting, obviously, because you get so much rewritability. But I think, yeah, just not expecting to imagine the exact right pattern first try. You've got to do it, see if it looks weird. If it looks weird, then you've got to try something else and repeat the process. There's a flowchart for it somewhere. So in these wrinkles now, to make them look a bit more 3D, and go to the light. It's always about contrast. We're just upping the contrast again, basically. I've gone too far light there. I often go too far here because this... I'm not trying to blame other things here, but this colour picker is microscopic on Magma. If anyone on Magma hears this, please, love God, make the colour picker bigger. Like 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre on my monitor. But yeah, we can get there, we can get there. Just trying to add some brightness. And we're mainly thinking about, actually what I was going to explain, is this very tip is going to be kind of where it's brightest. Because in the fold, you know, that's where it's sticking out most, and the light that's falling down that hits it more. So we're going to sort of start from the middle and work out when we accentuate these folds. And also because when it's this U shape, it's that part that's facing up the most, right? It's kind of 2 different effects working together. You can see we can naturally kind of, out of the smoke, can emerge the texture of the gown. It's going to get a little bit dark in there where there's some occlusion, isn't it? Wow, look at that contrast bump there. We kind of start from the middle and work out, I've noticed, when we do speed paintings on here. I should maybe try consciously going from outside to in instead, maybe. You can subdivide it in either way. I've always wondered which one I find more comfortable. I guess that's just the one I sort of naturally settle into. Yeah, those folds are really popping out now. We haven't even used the blur brush at all yet. I don't know if I will. To be fair, this round brush in Krita is already pretty blurry, so don't find myself often using it anymore. I think that's too far, that is. I'm just trying to find just the right value for this. It's not quite highlight yet, but it's... I think it's just because it's soft and matte, this material is. It needs to be very saturated, but also very bright. And that can be one of the most difficult kinds of values to mix. Wow, that was quite fast. That ended up popping out into 3D. That was. You can see they all kind of scrunch up like that and become the more horizontal lines that we're seeing here. Lovely. I don't know why. I do love painting gowns and drapery like this sometimes. Especially, I remember doing one painting a long time ago where I really tiled it in, and there's so many really fine folds. It was nice. I'm going to try and replicate that feeling at some point. Let's see how our mate's getting on down here. Wow. That's amazing, isn't it? That's really cool. I think, you know, that's definitely inspired me a little bit. I think maybe I'll try and paint something in a similar kind of horror aspect to this at some point. A gorgeous painting. Those little branches coming from it, they really make me think of... I remember seeing a video of like a sea cucumber and it spat out something that looked exactly like that. And it moved in exactly the kind of way you'd expect. Look at those teeth. That's what I love about these art jams for the stream as well. It's just so much, there can be more stuff going on, you know. Little paintings to visit that other people are doing. He's using the blur brush. It's crazy how fast this software work. It really is in real time. Like, you can actually see like every brush stroke this guy's making. It's very impressive. Impressive tech. Nice painting too. Alright then. I feel like I've kind of managed to overcome my dullness. Not in my personality, but my dullness in my painting here. I've managed to make this guy nice and saturated, and got plenty of contrast here now, right from the bat. We'll still see what it looks like to do some to edit some of the settings on it, contrast and brightness. But I don't think I'll need to change this one much, to be honest, or not as much as usual. I don't know if I'm doing these folds back here quite right. They need to be really steep, I feel like. I don't get them though, because if it's doing that, how does it connect to this hole here? I don't understand my own design there. There needs to be like a bottom edge to the sleeves, isn't there? It goes like that. And then that, I don't know. We use the eraser here. There might even be a gap right there in the silhouette. Let's do a little bit of silhouette work. Speaking of, I might have a nice opportunity to kind of vignette this, to be fair, because I like this kind of smooth curve around here. So maybe I can turn this into a bit of a bust just by doing something like that. And then we can be lazy and not have to draw the bottom off. The perks. No, but I don't think that's too bad. I would like to do a full design of this guy, I just don't want to take up so much space on the canvas, to be honest with you, but I'd love to do a body for him that's like a big crab or spider. So maybe we'll upgrade him at some point. I think that would look so awesome. What you just gotta love about painting from imagination, just being able to make things images that didn't previously exist. It's one of the other great joys of painting, other than for the communal aspects, painting with other people, but also painting things that didn't exist, being creative, basically. And you're always doing that, aren't you, really? Even when you paint from reference, from life. Your painting is but a... what's it called? Like a simulation. You know, it's an interpretation of what you're seeing. I think that's part of probably the most basic, foundational joy of painting, for sure. I noticed that this hand on our right maybe has slightly longer fingers than the left one, so I don't know if I'm going to use this moment here to cut them just a little bit shorter. I'm a bit mixed up though. This one's the longest one, the middle one, okay. Can't tell me left and right. You know what I've done wrong on this hand, actually? Well, I did... yeah, I think the hand is facing us. It's facing us, like, square on. When it needs to be more like that. It needs to come around. So you see how this finger is bowing. I'm exaggerating the curve here, but it's curving that way. See that curve? Now it doesn't matter how much it's curved, but it has to curve the right way, basically. You can't break the rule. It has to curve this way to make sense. And you get that part right, and then you figure out how much it should curve. And that's the same with pretty much everything that comes under perspective. You need to follow the rules before you refine them, I suppose. Not sure how I'd phrase it. Okay, I really like this lighting on the hands. It's only the start, it's missing a lot of the values still, but I really like this direct light value that we've got. Tried to get a bit of a dog leg in that little thingy you see. Just do cheeky little tricks like that. You just do a little cut in the line and it just adds that little bit of detail. Or on the knuckles sometimes, just add right where there's a knuckle. Just like a little further bump out, like that. That's the most basic pattern, I think, a lot of the time for the shading on the knuckles. And I can be lazy here and just use this blend brush right halfway on the finger. I mean, what kind of alien is this? Is it like a... I feel like it's more like a magician with the cloak, or like, what's it called, a wizard. A bit of a wizard alien. I was kind of originally envisioning that this is the thing that would be behind the command console in an alien ship. As I often do in that sort of subject. Trying to add some dimples on this little, not gonna lie, I was kind of inspired by like chickens for this little back bit. It's like the thing on a rooster. Trying to put some dimples on it that make sense. Get a nice texture building. Never let your textures be boring, you know. I'm trying to not let my colours be boring as well. I think that's the one that I fall behind more on sometimes. But textures, you know. Having just plain, smooth, almost Play-Doh like this sort of texture. You see, but genuinely, like this sort of texture. You see how it's this really, and this is something I paid earlier. It just needs more work is the thing. I could work it more, but areas like this where it's very cloudy and foggy. And the way you fix that cloudiness and fogginess often is with teeth, with some tooth. With some texture, but the texture is, you know, it's organic, but it's still structured in a way. It's not completely random, so that's where the difficulty comes from, I suppose, and the work that it takes to decode exactly what nature the patterns in it should take. I'm going to try and highlight this front edge of the sleeve here. Maybe on both of them. We've still got a little ways to go even on the contrast, believe it or not. There's not much jet black pigment on the page quite yet for this guy. But I might work on a different area from the gown for a little bit and come back to it. Never want to work on one area for too long. You ever played like a shooting game or CSGO or Call of Duty? You know, you don't stay in one area for too long. You've always got to kind of move to a different peak every now and then. It's exactly the same here in art. Sometimes you want to sort of learn don't know. I think it might be called like Russian style, but it is movie. It's kind of dotting from one part of the page to another. It can be very beneficial. Should go back into this sort of shape at the bottom here, I feel like. Exactly what I'm saying. You see, I had a different idea for the striations in mind. Now we've kind of thought, that looks strange. Let's see if this works a little bit better. And so far it is working a tiny bit better, indeed. We have that little flick at the bottom. Obviously up here on the wrist, it's where it's still going to be quite bunched up. Like that sort of shape. Not that regular. I'm going to make that look a bit more organic, but get what I mean. You know, I really feel like people are always coming on these jams and painting such nice stuff. And I feel like people do actually respect I have a rule on here that, I think it's in the rules that you have to accept that the size of the drawing or painting should be proportional to the amount of time spent on it. I feel like people do actually follow that, so it's nice to see people very respect the community on here. Doing every little bit of the gum where it bumps out from the teeth. Oh, I see, and then he goes through and blends it. It's an interesting technique. It's a little bit like watercolor pencils, I think. I think it's terrifying. Let's do some darker shading on these hands then, seeing as we was enjoying painting on them so much a second ago. Wow, look at that. Can't beat a good bit of contrast, man. Just makes things pop out into 3D when you up the contrast. Not quite sure how to do this wrist bend here. Maybe something a bit more like that. It's a really gross looking hand. I'm going to put some highlights on it as well. Let's see how that looks. Gotta smooth them out a little bit more, I feel like. I might have gone in a bit too early with these highlights actually. See how it goes though. Yeah, I definitely did. We can make a match though, we can work it in. Ah, that is a spooky hand. Just basic rules, bottom stuff that's facing bottom left-ish. I'm kind of thinking of like a material ball, but also I'm when I'm really being really lazy, I'm just thinking things that are kind of on the bottom left are going to be darker. Things that are kind of on the on the bottom right. I'm getting my rights and lefts mixed up. Yeah, things on the bottom right are darker. Anything facing down or facing to the right is kind of darker, and then vice versa. Anything facing left or facing up is brighter. Simplest rule, easiest rule to follow. To learn that as well, I would practice. I've seen this from another artist. I can't remember the name. You want to go with this sort of pattern where the light is coming from the camera. You just want to go center being the brightest. It's the easiest way to kind of start learning that. Get rid of that. Everything is a material ball. That's the big secret in art, I think. Oh man, this software. Can't wait till they've had time to kind of refine this. Give us a floating color palette that you can change the size of, and give us an option to turn off the thing that makes your brush turn into a color picker for no reason. Yeah, I definitely went overboard with these highlights here. I'm just going to work them in a little bit. And I feel like they've taken saturation out of the hand because of that. I think it should be something more like... Yeah, we should be seeing more saturation in the hand, basically. See, that looks a little bit nicer. You always want more colourful rather than less colourful. It's the lazy shortcuts that take the saturation and the colour dynamics out of things, trust me. But you're always going to use them because, like I often talk about, there's a priority on getting the foundations of the painting in and getting it to look right early so that you can make better decisions on where to go. If you've got something that's, especially when you're painting with no preliminary and completely from imagination, to kind of have the foundations in is to kind of have a bit of a preliminary to work from. And once you've got that preliminary, obviously you can decide what you want to be different. You can critique it. So that's why I often take some of these shortcuts sometimes, just to get the idea on the page. Make it exist first, I think, is the saying for that normally. Even these highlights, we can sneak some more value in. You see, these are more blue than what we did a second ago. Sometimes here, when you know there's a surface facing up, but it kind of goes into two different value zones, you can sort of grab this side and put a little bit there. Grab this one, put a little bit there, and you'll complete the sort of 3D pattern then. Probably something a bit more like that though. And it's done it to me. It's too much detail on that one knuckle now. Just wipe it out. That's the thing, that's the toughest part of all of, especially digital speed painting, but I think you know what I mean, like most art, I think that's the toughest thing is detail management, and it's tough mostly because you get tunnel vision so easily. Even with a lot of practice, you get tunnel vision very easy. You have to kind of wipe what you did. If you overworked something, sometimes you have to rub it out, or it'll look too strange to be able to evaluate the painting. And it's like I say, the painting has to look right to be able to make the correct decisions about it. Okay, let's get some darks on these creases behind the hand. I feel like this hand wants a darker backdrop. And these lines right here, they're going to be very thin and extremely steep. They're probably going to overlap each other a bit like that. Going straight in with the darkest value there against the most medium values, so looks a bit out of place for now. will tone it down though and add some of the next darkest values in. If this sleeve is so bright here, then all of this stuff should be too. I'm just going to add a little bit more dark on this sleeve, and I might actually start to wrap this painting up in a second. Like I say, I kind of paint to 90%, and we'll try another alien and see what other wacky design we can come up with. I feel like especially on these streams, on these art jams, when we're kind of making new paintings, you want to see novelty. I think if it's just me painting the exact same painting for like 2 hours, it's maybe a little bit. I think that's about the max amount of time people probably want to be looking at the same thing. Certainly the max amount of time that I often want to spend painting one thing. So that's why I say I like to, when I first paint things on these art jams, to get them to about 80%, and then we'll finish the ones we like off later. And we definitely like this one. We'll figure out a way to figure out a format where we can finish a bunch of these. Okay, should we come up with a new idea? I'm going to try and do a similar kind of creature, maybe. Maybe we can do something that's full body this time, though. Strange alien design. What can we come up with? I'm just going to start with maybe just some random abstract design and see if I can just come up with something interesting from the abstract ideas. See if something pops out at me, you know. Let me, actually, before we move on from this one, sometimes, to be fair, and when I originally started streaming, I would kind of just get a few of them going at a time, and then just keep, you know, I was saying, you pop from area to area on the painting. You can also just have a few paintings on the go and be whizzing between the paintings, so that you can actually do that in batch. There's no reason not to go back to some stuff sometimes. But yeah, just before I do start that other one though, just want to make some highlights a bit more clear right on his head. I feel like that can really make the difference, you know. I think a bit like that. Bit like that too, maybe. Nope. This one's a bit more complicated. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we've reached into mission returns. Let's get this one started. Kind of gonna go for something like a dragon shape, maybe. Why don't I do something that goes on 4 legs, possibly? Might look good. I don't have much experience drawing a lot of things. Like I say, we need to work on Visual Library badly on here on Laugh Arts. But I'm gonna give my best go at a quadruped. That's why it's an alien quadruped. So when it ends up being kind of not as accurate to earthly quadrupeds, I can just say it's because it's an alien, you know. That's what I'm kind of going for. I might go for something that's a bit of like a quadruped lizard sort of thing. I'm just going to do it standing casually. I was going to do it in a running formation, but honestly I don't know if my Visual Library is quite enough to support that. Let's just try a standing one first. That's the thing, I'm always searching for just so much novelty in my concept designs that there's so many things that I haven't had much experience in yet. Like even painting aliens, that's why I kind of started off with this strange green alien here, because it takes me a little while to sort of figure out exactly exactly what my tastes will be in a certain area. I do like the thin feathers under his eyes there. Maybe as we go through the stream we can just add a couple of the finer lines on this one here and there. Yeah, back to the dog. The dog lizard type thing. So yeah, there's going to be... it looks a bit like a Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. Actually, like that sort of shape, you see. I might try and make it look a bit different. I want something that kind of flows back like this, maybe. See, the joys of just designing something from abstract shapes. You see, I'm using some loops there just to help me with the perspective. You can also do things like that, or maybe like that. Quite a tough one to line up, to be fully honest. Second antler. And then maybe its eyes are down here. Should we do this one as like a swimming sort of spirit-like creature, maybe? That could look really cool. Kind of like undulates as it swims, sort of thing. Looks a bit like that's probably what I've subconsciously been what is it? What I've kind of based that off of axolotl. It looks like an axolotl. I'm gonna un-axolotl it because I'm not really trying to do an axolotl thing. I don't know. I want to make it as unfamiliar as possible. What if I continue this sort of flow that we've got and make the snout a bit longer with something that kind of continues that? It's kind of elephant-like now. Could give it tusks. I feel like it's too much symmetry then though. Thinking of a mouth. I'm not sure about the eyes still though. Maybe these somehow are the eyes, or maybe they're somehow on these antler things, like stalks, you know. I'm not sure yet. Or maybe it just has one. Oh, here we go. We can probably sneak the eyes up there somehow. Ooh. Wow, that looks derpy. Oh, there you go. That's just right. I'm keeping that. It looks like a sad Triceratops. Maybe I can do, I don't know, I like we're kind of trying to go out there. I think doing round, typical shaped eyes are too formulaic. They're too normal. Need some stuff that looks really alien today. It's not right, is it? Excuse me. Maybe it's because we're designing with pencil. I do try to not to skip the pencil stage. This one was designed with pencil though, and he turned out fine. This guy wasn't, and he's a bit cloudy, but he's a bit too simplistic. That's the thing with pencil. When you start with pencil, what it allows you to do often is just have a more complicated painting. Sometimes it's easier to come up with ideas when you don't use pencil, you just go straight into paint. What if I just cross this? Or somehow, I don't know. I don't think it looks very creature-like then, though, because they're not, like, growing out of something. I could make this one link. That would look quite cool. What if it was just one link of some kind of dragon and there was more of these, you know what I mean? And that could look quite cool. And then we can decide ahead that maybe plugs into this last link. Oh, there you go. We solved the problem, I feel like. Search. There you go. Happy little face. But yeah, we'll design it with the silhouette first. So the head will be something like that. A really small head. It's got a small head. And then there'll be lots of links with those sorts of things. I guess there'll be something like wings. Sort of like a magic dragon, isn't it? Maybe make this little bit down here like its underbelly. Maybe these will be like plates of armor. And I always love doing these little dimples on armor for some reason. It's gonna look super magical, isn't it? Jesus. Should I let the links get so big though, is the question. I think I'm gonna keep them small, so it's more like a worm. It's gonna be overlapping of plates down here. I don't know what the overall gesture is gonna end up looking like. He's gonna need maybe a wing, I don't know. He doesn't need a wing. I'm just going to draw this front piece and people can kind of use their imagination for what the tail might look like. Maybe I can somehow incorporate it into the background. Do we like the nose spike? How does it eat? I wonder. I like the idea that it sort of swims towards things and spears them though, like a fish. Like one of them swordfish. Excuse me for just one moment. I'm gonna leave us with that image. I just need to go and get a drink and open some windows. Absolutely boiling here in the UK at the moment. Back in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Alright, I'm back, and the windows are open. Hopefully I won't boil anymore. You know, I'd really like to make this hair look a bit more planted. Not quite sure how. How does the hair grow out in amongst the feathers? And the hair, just like the wrinkles and pretty much everything else in this particular little painting, is just striations. Textures are often just dots or striations of some kind or another, I feel like. Wow, that doesn't look quite right. I don't feel like it's like the wrong direction or something. It needs to curl back that way, I feel like. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, how does hair grow out in amongst feathers? That's a material that doesn't even exist, you know, biologically here on Earth. I do like his little haircut though, he's cute. His little tuft of red hair. I feel like this one's kind of got some personality, you know. You can feel like it might be wise, but I want this one to have a bit more personality. It looks more robotic, I feel like. How do we make this thing look less robotic? I think it's the eyes, and honestly, I think the pincer at the front, because it's not a mouth, makes it look a bit less like an animal. Maybe it's got a big bill like that. Should we give it a couple of eyes maybe though? Oh, it's not what I meant to do. Something like that. I don't know, it just doesn't quite look right. We gotta think outside the box here. I think it needs something on stalks. With some really crazy, weird texture. Surprise, surprise, I think it needs a weird texture. So we don't often do that around here. Basically becoming the bread and butter of this channel. That little overlap there is super important. Do we give it fangs? Yeah. And this thing should have loads of eyes facing out in every direction. Jesus. It's gonna be strange. Should we actually make it eyes? Or should we, I don't know. I was kind of thinking like a compound eye, a bit like, what are they called? Those mantis shrimp. A bit like how their eyes look. Something like, I guess it would look something like that. Maybe we can figure it out in paint. Yeah, I'm going to start to paint this in, and the other stuff we can figure out in paint. Kind of know what colour I want these antlers to be. I do want them to be sort of antler coloured, so I'm going to go in with that straight away. I have a feeling of where I want the light source to. Notice all of these, just one layer. We just do a bit of a drawing to start them off, which is optional, by the way. and then start blocking them in. We go a little darker, a little more saturated, a little more towards the red as these antlers go down in value. Typically, they're not actually antlers, they are more like something like the axolotl fish has. They'll be inspired by that. And when we're at the blocking in stage, you've got to keep in mind that what you're doing is just getting a colour palette, so you're just trying to get the right values in the right place. So at this point it's probably more important than ever to remember to try and mix the colours that you actually intend to put down on the page, to avoid glazing, basically, I would say. I mean, you are okay with glazing when you block in, but you really want to be focusing on trying to get a rich diversity of values when you do that. And like I've been saying today, it kind of makes things a little bit less saturated when you do that sometimes. I think one of those times is when you're trying to block in some crazy perspective. How this one's kind of mirrored, facing the other direction and even going behind the head of the beast. Now we've got to think what the light might look like. Right back there, I think it's going to be quite dark. I think we're really going to be seeing a bit of occlusion. Right where it's tucking back there behind the head. Much darker and redder and richer, or more saturated I should say. Richer doesn't really mean much, does it, I suppose? Okay. Just allow it to be a little bit brighter on the top back there, with some of the light still getting through. Maybe a odd highlight. And we can paint in the shell that it's on. I'm going to go with a blue here. Could go with a green, I suppose. I don't know. I don't paint many green things, except for this guy. I'm the biggest fan of the colour for some reason. I'm gonna try and just remember that there's. Well, no, we won't. I like to try. I don't know why. I don't like to work in that sort of stages. I like to paint things in as I see them. Because you could paint this whole thing in flat and then do these little dimples, but I like to make sure that they're represented, you know, from the get-go. Sometimes that makes things a little bit awkward, but there are benefits to working like that. Ooh, I think that needed to be a little bit darker, that value. Just trying to get something of a abstract sort of shape going on here that flows. And has something of a split down the middle. Except for right here on this little hump, that one's right in the middle there. You see just basic embossing there where I lightened up the bottom, that very last step there. Maybe some bits right on the edge here are going to be catching the light more as well. There's a Fresnel effect too on these organically rounded surfaces. And like I say, it's all about contrast, so let's see what it looks like when we start working in the deepest values. We are still blocking in. I'm maybe going a bit further than I should do here. It's just hard because the blocking can never really include all the values you need. The only way you can really include all the values you need in exactly the right places is when you do go into detail. So the blocking, I feel like that's why a lot of the times it's hard for me to get the saturation in my paintings. So when you start with these blockings, because there isn't the fine enough detail. Like sometimes the colour black will only be in a thin seam, right? So those will kind of be discriminated against by the wider brush strokes. Let's try and get as close as we can, nonetheless. Yeah, I think I'm just enjoying myself too much on this little bit of shell. See if we can get ourselves to move on here. So I'm just kind of rushing this in now. See the speed and the sloppiness that we're going with. Really slapping them big brush strokes in. That was one divot too many there. None of this will be final. All of this is going to be revised as we carry on painting. Things will be added. We'll come up with new ideas, you know. I really want to do just the very dark value. It's going to be on the bottoms of these. Just want to get that in. Right round here, around the neck. It connects onto the head. I made a mistake there. That's actually just the eye. Should be pretty much bright there. Oh man, getting a hand cramp. Maybe I should try and 3D print some kind of grip for this pen or something, like a really chunky grip. That'd be good. Let's just figure out what we should do with the head as well early. Attack that straight away. Right, I want this really cool, bright pink, purple, whatever you want to call it. I want that for the eyes. I think I have a slight clue of what I want, and it is kind of like a compound eye, but a bit more messy and non-round. And what's interesting about compound eyes is you have something called a pseudo pupil, which is basically the bits that are facing the camera, or the observer. You'll see this kind of pupil, this dark spot, which is where, if you think of the compound eye as loads of tubes, like loads of toilet roll tubes stacked into a kind of a spherical shape. The ones that you're looking head on at, you're looking straight into the hole in the tube, aren't you? And that's why you get this kind of pseudo pupil, because if you think about compound eye, it really is like a lot of toilet paper tubes. There's a lot of little eyes facing in one fixed direction out from a kind of a often spherical center. We can put that pseudo pupil in there and think of that on a different layer to the rest of the shading that we can put on here. I feel like I'm on the wrong brush, so here you go. Wow, it's just brighter than I thought. I don't know. You see, we're going to go with kind of dots here. Instead of striations, we've got dots. So, I'm going to try and make it semi-regular. This is a little bit of a highlight, so we kind of go in highlight first here, which is rare. Rare, but very fun. I'll do the same process on the other eye, I guess. Kind of left that one out. Sometimes it's fun to experiment, especially when you're doing something bilateral like this is. It can be fun to experiment with. I'm gonna go a little blue for this shade for now. Watch. Excuse me. To experiment on one side and get that right, and then transfer what you've learned there to the other side. It needs to be darker. This value does. See, we're kind of cutting it up into smaller little blobs. And once we've got a texture like this all around the eye, we can start to perfect it. Still want to keep that pseudo pupil there though. Although the reflections are going to go over it a little bit, but with the way the light's coming from, it won't cover it completely. We're going to do the same kind of portrait light that we've been doing in a lot of the others as well. You got to try and go with a bit more of a brick pattern when you do stuff like this. The brick pattern seems to be the most natural. I feel like I might have overdone that. So I'm just going to glaze over it back with purple. Wow, that looks strange. It's kind of like jelly. It's like purple jelly. Should we leave it like that? I think we should make it like purple jelly, and we should let something be inside of it like that. If you want another, well, I don't know if I've got an example. I have got an example of the kind of the pseudo pupil thing being pulled off a bit more, but I think I'm going to go with some kind of clear gel there instead, because I think that'll look really wacky. Let's give him a green head. Yeah, we're just purposefully going for the wackiest things we can today. It was kind of the idea originally. This being my original attempt at wackiness. It is kind of wacky still, to be fair. Just thinking values. We've got one value in so far, and that's a shadow value. And we can do half tones. Oh, we got two values in. Sorry, I've got a little bit of light there. Do half tones, a bit more saturated, I think. Yars. Actually, this is kind of more like direct light, I'm thinking. And then you do highlights. Yeah, there you go. It's all coming together now. There's a few patterns that I'm still figuring out that don't quite look right, but we'll massage it into the shape we need. I think we need something darker to show the underside of this stalk. Side of both of them even. Should the nostrils be like right under there maybe? I don't know. I like the little pip nostrils more, honestly. Like Build a Monster Workshop painting like this is. Those little nostrils in. Slowly starting to pop out. It's becoming more and more 3D. Feel like I'm going to make that just a little bit more subtle. That shape right there. I'll peel it backwards a little bit. Flare these nostrils. And then add just a little bit of brightness at the bottom of the nostrils where the surface is starting to point upwards again. Quite sure how to do that split at the front at the moment without overdoing it. It's gonna be crazy. Some crazy dragon design. Let's do its bottom jaw. It's a bit more of a snake, I suppose, with the fangs, actually. I think a snake... What's a snake? What is a dragon? It's a mix... Isn't a dragon a mix of two creatures? A snake and like a lion or something? I suppose this is my kind of personal design for a dragon. Maybe even stays a bit more faithful than usual to the original chimera that it's meant to be. If it is a snake and a lion, I think it is. I don't know. If they don't fit, we can always get rid of them anyway. Let's see how they look. Yeah, I quite like them. We'll keep them. I want a skin texture on here. Just a little bit of a very small, subtle... This is the eraser. A very small, subtle... like the kind of skin a hippo has, I guess. They've got lots of pores, little dimples. It does look kind of hippo-y, the nostrils do, for sure. That's probably where some of that inspiration is coming from. Excuse me. Get some early highlight on here. Right on these stalks, I think. Damn it, always playing with the eraser, man. Just gonna try and do similar steps to the other eyes. Sometimes if you don't do the steps like exactly the same when you're trying to match things, you end up punishing yourself. Although sometimes it just gives you a bit more variety to choose from as well, to be fair. I'm just kind of doing them randomly here. It's way too small for me to perfectly do the brick pattern. I'm going to do, like I say, that really strong blue light here like I have done in a few of the other things. So this eye is going to be the thing that's catching it the most by far. And this eye might be catching it all the same, to be fair, or whatever's not being blocked. Right on the edge of the mouth too. Didn't apply that very well. I feel like we're missing the shadow of the antlers. On the armor here. Same with the eyes actually. And I think what we can do with the eye shading, which will be cool, is actually get some of the purple and have it look like some of that purple light is lensing through the eye and landing on the green. Let's make it a bit, let's bring some of the shape back to the green there. I feel like I might have ruined the shape a little bit there. It still needs to be a bit brighter when it's facing up. Something like that. Just gotta figure out exactly what the shadow should be like. I think we need to blur the edges a little, maybe. Just going to put a bit of darkness behind this eye as well, because it is going to be blocking some of the, at least some of the light that's coming from the right hand side. There's quite a few light sources here that we've ended up working with, so oftentimes I feel like I work with light sources that I haven't even really, I'm not even really thinking about, like subconscious light sources just kind of sneak in where they need to. Wherever's convenient is where the light sources end up being. I'm liking this little pattern here, so I might see how that works. Yeah. I think that kind of fixed the stalks not looking quite right. Having that pattern there to sort of show the flow of them. So many interesting complex textures you can do on these aliens, I swear down. Look how weird that is. Kind of downplaying that shadow a little bit and rolling it back. See how it looks. Yeah, I think it looks good. You can see how it's hard to really ever have in mind exactly what you intend to paint before you start, because how could you possibly know all of these texture decisions that we've made, sometimes having to have multiple goes at getting the right texture. You know, just that detail alone would be so hard to have all worked out in your head before you even start. Quite hard to have all worked out in pencil either, thinking of that. I'm going to continue these wrinkles around the nostrils as well, because they look kind of bare now. That it kind of looks like the whole face wants those wrinkles. will make sure it gets it. I might change the colour maybe as well around the nostrils. Give them, it could be a purplish hue, but I think I'm going to choose a different hue. Could be good to go with blue because that's like the shell is. Try some blue. I just want to basically trickle some blue on this area. I think that can really make it look more biological as well, because you know, animals typically have the colour changes on their skin. There's subtle ones that blend, like from your lips to the skin on your face. It's always good to try and work that in somewhere. Big blue nostrils. Yeah, the fangs are going to need some work to get them to fit. They're just a really small, sharp detail is why I was wondering initially if they would fit in this painting. See if we can make them work, and like I say, if not, we'll go for something else. They're just a bit sharp. It'd be nice to have something larger and softer in that area, I'm not sure why. But it just feels strange having such a tiny, sharp detail right there. As far as the shell goes, I think I'm going to make these divots a bit less deep. I can do that by just blurring the bottoms of them right here. Maybe some of the tops too. Blur that shadow a bit. About the scale behind that one as well. Try and get some saturation around these areas. A little bit of occlusion shadow down here as well under this eye. Just need a hint of that really. These eyes are going to look so strange when they're fully detailed and textured. I wonder how what sort of image the thing sees. It's just going to be doing lots of these little lines. That's all this is going to be. Hand cramp central, basically. All different values we've got to try and capture though. And just the right amount of them in the right places. It can be quite difficult. We're just working by feel mostly. Just a general rule of I'm doing lots of little lines, lots of little dashes that kind of go around in a circle. And I'm kind of following a material ball of a light coming in from this way and then the backlight coming in from that way. This is the only part on the eye that, other than the pseudopupil, is going to be naturally darker anyway. Although what we should do is make it a bit more saturated than the pseudopupil is. Well, it's not really a pseudopupil anymore, it's more like a mass that's in the middle of a semi-clear jelly. Yeah, here's where we'll just pump the saturation up like crazy, right below. Right around there. What a strange material we've made. I'm going to do some really sharp highlights on it just to finish the look. Only in a very small area right here. Maybe glaze it just a tiny bit. There you go, you see that's really starting to pop now. Wow, that popped out. Very much so, that did. That really does look like a weird ball of clear purple jelly with what I assume is some kind of what his actual eye is in the center right there. Just doing some silhouette work here. I think I just want the middle to be a little bit darker than it is. Yeah. I don't know if it needs to get that dark though. Maybe if I just sprinkle in some little bits that are a little bit darker, that'll look right. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think I can get that to work. Just right there. It's the only place it's going to work, going that dark. Don't know what sort of things you see out of that eye. I'd love to know. I do wonder what kind of universe this sort of stuff can go in. Maybe some kind of super alien universe. Don't know what the main sort of story is that would be told there. Just doing some rough highlights here. I'm probably doing them a bit finer than I should. Just to get a feel for what this shell's going to end up looking like. I'm thinking sort of like a porcelain material. I really want it to be like a, well, kind of like a really smooth shell. I feel like there's a bit of a symmetry issue though. You see, the center should really be like that. See, this antler's touching the center and this antler's back here. Like I said, that's a bit of a tough bit of foreshortening there, but we got close. Just need to make that antler a little bit of a slightly different shape. I think it needs to park. Needs to park right there. Let's connect that. Connect it up. I know we could even use the liquify brush maybe. Maybe we could have done it for all of that, but could try and use the liquify brush to actually push this pattern over to the middle as well. That is an option. It'll give us something of a start. There you go. That looks a little bit like a skull. I might try and get rid of that. It's not really meant to, but it's a bit like a sad skull. I actually like the kind of warped. It kind of warped it in a nice way. It made it look more like a shell. Let's put more dimples on it. Yeah, it made it look more like superly designed. I don't know if we have gone overboard with the dimples, you know. I'm gonna get rid of this one here. Looking quite strange. It's kind of like we could take it in any direction right now. This shell. We're just starting to get some believability in here. Trying to shore it up though and make it symmetrical. It's this dimple here that's missing really. I feel like there's just too many dimples. I don't know. It's something that needs to be changed. I feel like this seam maybe needs to be grown to really so that it looks like the whole shell it's been kind of formed in two parts, or you know, is symmetrically similar, like two things in a mirror. You always want to give that sort of impression, I think, when you're designing things like this. Isometrical. Want two bumps sort of thing. Yeah, so we're getting there now. Maybe there's some way we can work in something else into the shell, but I don't know. I think we should just leave it as the simple blue. We've already got enough details, especially on the shell itself with these dimples. Brain is trying to calculate what the best way to go with this is. Let's try adding some more brightness and see how that works for it. See what we think then. Sneak in some really bright blue. Very saturated too, this is. Like I say, I want to be working in more saturation as I go through the painting a bit more consciously now. Just need some work to blend that in now, I think. Yeah, that's really strange looking now. Yeah, I'm going to try the dimples again in a new pan. I think I'm going to start from a clean slate on this kind of armory shell. Still going to go with kind of abstract dimples, but I think I just want a pattern that's a little more clear. Maybe something with a bit more of this shape like we've got down here. There's kind of more of a long slot each dimple is. I don't know if that was the original idea behind them as well even. I'll leave that one. Trying to go with a kind of as random as a pattern as possible. It's a bit like a walnut. I don't know whether I should add something here, like 2 little spikes coming out. I'd like that actually, yeah. Yeah, we can make it look just a little bit more spiky that way. Just gonna have to figure out how to make them more readable. A little bit like that. See how crude you can start some things off. Really is just your best guess that you begin with. And you do lots of little experiments to figure out exactly what it is you want to paint and how exactly it should be rendered. Yeah, I like all the little spikes rather than the dimples, actually. Much more interesting. Quite easy to paint too. Just 2 lines like that and then maybe a bit of a highlight. Yeah, I poured myself a drink. I didn't even bring it to the desk. Jesus. Oh man, I've been drinking way too many fizzy drinks since the start of this summer. Need to cut back. I just like the what is it? The sting. Do you know? Sting at the back of your throat when you drink the fizzy drinks. They're just too sugary though. And as soon as they're warm, it's like you're drinking warm, sugary water. I don't know if anyone else gets that. I don't really like these really sugary drinks when they're like extra cold. Just making these antlers feel a little bit more fleshed out and valued. Using glazing a little bit. A lot. It does help you to get a nice 3D model of stuff. Glazing feels like when you're working with wet clay with your hands and you just kind of you know, rubbing the shape that you want into it. That's why it's so powerful and so satisfying. But like I say, it's a little bit better for sculpting the 3D form glazing is than for getting a nice wide saturated colour palette. I always put my earphones in for these streams and then forget to put music on. And just end up painting in silence for literally hours. Can't wait to put some highlights on this blue shell, this bright blue shell. Let's give it a go. I don't know how close to white we've gotten so far, or to black. Looks pretty good, I think. Really don't think we're going to be able to see any of where this antler attaches. I think I've completely mixed up the... what's it called? The perspective there. I think it's going to be more like that even. This thing looks really crazy. It's like something from an acid trip almost. I don't know if this is a thing that is that flies or kind of lives underwater. Kind of getting an aquatic feeling from this. Like this is something that maybe goes underwater, like a water snake type thing. Trying to make it more dense towards the outside of this organically rounded shape. More dense little slitty like lines. You see, we haven't had to pay attention to draw every single little facet on this shape, but we've used suggestion to kind of, you know, suggest what texture it is, whilst using less information. It's kind of like using compression, where it's the person's brain and subconscious that unzips what they're looking at. Your brain invents or you know, decodes and fills in the gaps. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Oh yeah, I've got eraser on this key. I should use that more often, really. Maybe I'll make it this normal brush though. This line's a bit too squeezed. Should carry on the wrinkles a little bit more, maybe. It's a bit like a pug. Right then, see if we can add some more contrast into this. Probably going to add some right in this kind of slot between the two shell sections, of course. Some extra dark values. Right where the antler meets the shell here. Do just a little bit of the underbelly here. It's going to be quite dark up this far. It's going to be just basically quite stripy. Oh, God damn it. Chucking my pen halfway across the room. Next section of shell. I think we'll just render this a little bit and I might clock out after that. I'm gonna have to find the I've got like one of those gloves that you put on for when you're painting digitally so you don't get blister on your finger. Stamp. I hold the pen way too tightly. Almost can't stop myself though. I need to get one of those. I need to find the glove. think my hand's about to fall apart after this stream. Should add just a hint of these antlers at the back as well, so they don't get forgotten. Be nice finishing this dragon off. I've got so many nice things to finish off now. See, we're sort of building that one in a fog. We don't always, like I say, we don't always have a complete idea of what things are going to look like when we start as well. So just kind of go with the abstraction, and we use a process of selection. We do things that are almost random, and then we select the ones that we like. And you keep doing that over and over again as the thing slowly builds, replacing itself. You eventually wind up with what you want. Okay then, I think we're going to call it a day there. It's been really nice. This has been a fun little paint, and happy with what we've come up with. I like the contributions from our resident joinees. Alright then, I am going to clock out, so see you next time.